Empty your pockets, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. And guys, what better way to recover from the horrors of Sonic Shuffle than with an 8-bit Sonic game? Don't we just love those?
No, I don't. This
Not
one,
generally.
definitely not this one either. No,
Oh,
8-bit games.
really?
No, I hate it. Let's get on with it already so we can be out away with this.
Oh,
Really?
okay. We're gonna have some
This
differing opinions.
this is Sonic Pocket Adventure, the final 8-bit Sonic game to ever exist, and I guess in my opinion, just my opinion, the best 8-bit Sonic game. I thought it was pretty alright.
Yeah, same.
Well, clashing opinions there are sometimes on the show.
Yes, so
Mhm.
this is a game made by SEGA and SNK working together for the Neo Geo Pocket Color, a game system that I didn't know existed before I knew about this game, and frankly, if it weren't for this game, I still wouldn't know what it was.
I'll admit I did know it existed, but I don't think I'd played any games from it.
We have this awkward middle period between the Game Gear and the Game Boy Advance, where it's like
Right.
Sonic didn't know where his home was on mobile.
Yeah, apparently, why did Sega decide to go to a different system? They hadn't done that very much yet.
I mean, this was 99, right?
Yeah, right after Sonic Adventure 1, basically.
I guess at this point the Game Gear was well discontinued, and Sega wanted Sonic somewhere on mobile and didn't want to put him on a Nintendo console, so
Well, no, because this was before the Sega Nintendo console wars were over.
right. So I guess they thought the next best thing was SNK with a console that no one had ever heard of, outside of Japan at least.
Almost like they didn't really care if anyone even knew about this game.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
That is the thing that is most apparent, is that this is possibly the least original Sonic game ever made.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and thus begins the
Yeah.
problems.
This game has absolutely no plot whatsoever. It is the only 8-bit game to feature sort of modern Sonic designs. Eggman starts out in his classic outfit, but has the modern coat at the end.
Right.
And every single stage in this game is a slightly changed copy of a classic Sonic stage, pretty much.
Yeah.
Barely changed.
And all of the music is stolen from Sonic 3.
Yeah, that one was a little.
Almost all of the music. It's literally the first act is Sonic Jam music.
Oh,
Right, yeah. Which would be Neo South Island, which is Emerald Hill.
Yeah, it's just
yes.
Emerald Hill. Yeah, the only original part of this game, well, it's not even original. The only unexpected part of this game is the strange choice of music. They could have just done 8-bit renditions of the actual acts, but no. They got the Sonic Jam music as mentioned here, and then Angel Island for Act 2.
Yeah, it's really weird because it's all taken from Sonic 3 except for that one, but it also places it in really weird orders. Like, you don't use Act 1 and 2 for the same stage, but, like, I think Angel Island shows up in one level, and then Secret Plant uses Angel Island Act 2.
Yeah.
True. Mostly just Sonic 2 otherwise. Including the special stages. They're the half
It's the
pipe.
half pipe.
My favorite special
Yeah.
stage of all time.
Ah, mine too.
I went out of my way to actually do these because I wanted to see if this game had a special ending. It's just
What's wrong
Doomsday
with
Zone
you?
Dwarfs.
Of
Yeah.
course it is.
I guess the bosses are original, and it does have one tie to a trend, which is the SNK devs that made this game eventually split off from SNK to become Dimps, who would develop all of the Sonic portable games up until Sonic Boom on the 3DS, I guess, as well as like most of every Dragon Ball Z game you've ever heard of.
Right.
But the boss starts a trend, which is that the first boss of every Sonic portable game, for some reason, is Eggman with a hammer.
Right.
They really like that design choice for some reason.
It's a decent enough design, but I don't know if it's a good enough design to use for every game.
I have no problems with Hammer Boss, but this is one of the least original of the bosses, which are more original because it plays exactly like the drill boss or whatever that's called.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
You could just it could just be a reskin. You could easily ROM hack this into Sonic 2. You just change the way it looks. That's all it takes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less.
And frankly,
Uh,
like we said, the level design is so similar, and the physics are not quite the same, but they're pretty close, I'd say, which is why I consider this the best 8-bit game, is because it
Right.
feels way, way better than any of the previous ones, just control-wise.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. With the small screen size, I barely
Mm,
try to really flex the physics, so I'm mostly
it,
just full Mario mode and just
I mean,
taking it slow.
that is fair. The small screen really does kind of it dams this game a little bit.
Yeah, nobody likes screen crunch. Well, it's like, that's bad enough with the Game Gear, and that has a
Yeah.
bigger screen than the Pocket.
Yeah, Neo Geo Pocket has like a literal postage stamp screen.
Well, I mean, I think the thing was best suited to, like, portable versions of fighting games, right?
Portable versions of fighting games, and there are a couple ports, I think, of the first two Metal Slugs that are decent.
Yeah,
But
but, like,
it's
arcade
very much
games...
for arcade, exactly, because that's SNK's bread and butter.
Well, and it's because they have a different aspect ratio
Right.
than most consoles, so it makes sense for those, but
Yeah.
side-scrolling platformers, no. Well, and nowhere does that shine through more with Secret Plant, which is Chemical Plant, but without really any chemicals. Instead, they just have bottomless pits that ambush you.
See, that's where you're wrong. At first, I was bamboozled and thinking, huh, what? Is this game trying to have an original zone? Oh, alright, fan theory time. I bet this is Chemical Plant after Eggman drained the chemicals. But no, there are actually chemicals. There
Yeah,
aren't
they
as
are.
many for some reason, but there are still chemicals. So no, it's just Chemical Plant, but they just removed most of the chemicals, but not all of them. So my theory
Sanitized
got thrown out the
plant.
window, and no, I was disappointed.
Yeah, well, it's
Actually, this
still...
is when I noticed there is something that this game has, which is collectible photo pieces. I noticed these first in this zone. You can pick out throughout the game to assemble little pictures.
Yeah, it's kind of a... I guess it's just kind of a if you want it mechanic. It's not really intrusive,
Yeah,
but it's also like, in the modern era, you can just look up what all those puzzle pieces were, so...
exactly.
So random. I was like, huh? What's this doing in Sonic the Hedgehog 2? I don't remember these.
If it were in a game that I really, really wanted to explore, then I'd like it, but it's not.
Yeah, and again, the music choice, because you've got Angel Island Zone again on the first act, and then Act 2 is Hydrosity for some reason. I guess that kind of fits, but it's weird the way they're mixing and matching and jumping around.
Well, because, you'd think that they've established a pattern where, okay, well, I guess for some reason they changed the first zone's music, but then they change it again to just be the Sonic 3 tracks playing in a row. But then you get to
Mm.
Cosmic Casino, and it's using the bonus stage theme.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. We have to talk about all the bosses, though, because the boss of Secret Plant is basically Red Eye, but reskinned.
It's not nearly as hard as Red Eye, because you rotate the platforms by standing on them yourself, so as long as you jump off them quick, they're not nearly as dangerous.
Yeah.
True, it's not. Imagine that punishing of a boss for the second zone of the game, but it plays similarly. I didn't actually know you controlled the platforms. Interesting.
But yeah, Cosmic Casino is Casino Night, obviously, but it's more annoying because, while I said that the physics are more accurate to the classic games, that is true, but they're not 100% accurate, because some parts of the design of this stage are broken. If you are sent upward through the air toward a curved ceiling, it just doesn't work. You just run into it and fall.
I didn't encounter
Uh-huh.
that, but I am glad that you had trouble with this zone. This is the only zone in the game that I had any trouble with. Let me just say, I will give them some credit, which is that this game is easy as heck, almost surprisingly so. This seems like an apt time to mention. For some reason, Sonic's invisibility frames last forever. 5 seconds. Who decided? Oh yeah, Sonic gets 5 seconds of invincibility frames. It makes the whole game a joke practically.
I mean, it's easier to lose rings off screen during boss fights, but other than that, I agree with you, yeah.
But as for Cosmic Casino, I didn't encounter problems with the curves, but those darn bouncers. There is one part where you get shot up from one of the spring,
Pinball launchers, yeah?
yeah, the pinball launchers. That's what they are. I didn't even know. I never put that together. And then you get launched up to a whole bunch of bouncers. And I swear it is impossible to control Sonic on these bouncers. I had to go up, bounce me right back down. Up again, bounce me right back down. It was just RNG. I couldn't even affect it. I just had to try it 5 times in a row until eventually Sonic bounced up and I could finally escape. I don't know what's up with the bouncers.
Yeah, the physics on it are weird, and it is hard during that one, because that's like a linear part of the level. I don't think there's alternate paths for that. And yeah, boss is really weird, because the boss basically just bounces around himself and you just hit him.
Boss moves differently than the Sonic 2 Casino Night boss, but otherwise plays very similarly because you still just launch yourself up to hit him. The arena is like pretty much the same.
And so the music is still pissing me off, because we have the thing that I said about how it goes from Jam to Sonic 3, and then it breaks trends by doing the bonus stage. But then you get to Aquatic Relics, spelled with an X, which jumps right back on the trend by using Hydro City, which the second active secret plant also uses.
Yeah,
I mean, at least Hydro City would fit better here.
Since it's a water level, yeah.
Right.
Very, very weird. Aquatic Relics is, of course, Aquatic Ruin, but the underwater timer is really, really strict in this game. It's very fast.
I think I did kind of cheese it with save states.
I'll admit this zone seemed to have extended underwater sections, but I didn't have much problem with drowning.
It's not undoable, I just noticed that you drown really fast. It's not as bad as Sonic Forces, but you are underwater for a long time, so...
Also, they're just trying to confuse you with these names and to distract, because the names get really a little bit weirder from here. What the heck does Relix even mean?
Why, I assume
Does it
it's...
have a meaning?
I assume it's Relics, Relics,
Right.
but with
Yeah.
an S.
Oh,
X.
it's stylized.
Yeah, it's got an X because it's the 90s and it's
Oh,
cool.
I didn't even catch that. Okay, that makes
If it makes me think of
sense.
anything, it makes me think of the OVA, where they called the ruins of New York the Ancient Relics for some reason.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I think they really were like just trying to sort of rush a game on handheld here, because in this zone, aside from being unoriginal as usual, at one part where there's just a ring box floating in the air without standing on anything, and I don't know what's up with that.
I think I encountered
Oh.
something like that in the casino level, actually, but they do
Oh.
have a couple of those. Well, and speaking of strict timing, apparently they couldn't have any sort of sequence where it would make sense to get there, but when you run to the end of the second act, you just fall through the floor directly into Hidden Palace with Knuckles attacking you.
Knock, knock, it's Knuckles. Suddenly, I am excited for once in this game. I cannot describe, I mean, I wasn't really that excited. I just was like, what? The game is trying to be interesting. Cool.
Knock, knock, it's Knuckles.
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe it's going
He's-
somewhere. It's not, but for this
N-
short moment.
Yeah, no, this is basically the exact same fight as in Sonic 3.
Yeah.
Which is fine, it's not like a terrible battle or anything, it's just like, eh.
No, it's a good fight. It's just not particularly original like the rest of the game.
It also makes me question what's going on here, because when you're getting the Chaos Emeralds, for some reason, Knuckles has one that you take. So, like, why is
Oh,
he
yeah.
fighting you? What did Eggman do? He's obviously not trying to use Knuckles to get the emeralds, otherwise he'd have that one.
This takes place in the Archie continuity where Knuckles and Sonic have to immediately fight each other when they see each other.
Huh. I would agree with you, except, well, actually, now that I think about it, considering what I was about to note, maybe it is Archie continuity, because for half of it, there's like no plot at all. And then suddenly they decide to throw in a little bit plot. They're ramping up a little bit because they have a whole blown cutscene as you beat Knuckles and he drops the Chaos Emerald. And then Eggman comes over and he's like, that's mine, yoink. And then Sonic and Knuckles are like, okay, I guess we should stop being stupid. Knuckles is like, I'll help you by punching you in the air in my favorite moment in the whole game.
That bit is amazing. he just sucks him upward into Sky Chase. Frankly, I wish that Sonic 3 had something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Tails is just suddenly there. He's ready because after Sonic Adventure, he just knows there's going to be another instance of Sky Chase. There's no escape. I find it funny they didn't even bother to rename Sky Chase. Like, it's the only actually named proper zone. Like, oh yeah, okay.
That's true. It is.
It's like Sega had a mandate. We must have Sky Chase, and then somebody slapped some sense into them.
It makes me think of, like, the English localized names for, like, JoJo stands. How, like, sometimes they'll be able to use a name that is, like, vague enough that it doesn't necessarily reference copyrighted music, but then other times they have to go with things like Flaccid Pancake because they can't say Limp Bizkit. It's very weird. But yes, Sky Chase is Sky Chase. It sure is Sky Chase from Sonic 2.
Actually, I do have a few notes here. First of all, now they're using the two-player mode music from Sonic 3. They put floating platforms around. That's noteworthy. I don't know why they did that. There wasn't much of the zone, so I guess they're like, let's give it something. Also, I don't know if this is on purpose, but the nebulas here are green, like in the adventure book. Is this like the new design? Somebody decided, no, the nebulas, they're green now.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
I'll say this version of Sky Chase does have one advantage over Sonic 2, which is that no matter how fast you run or spin dash, you cannot fall off of the plane to your death.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's also nice to be playing on an emulator so I can just fast forward, and given how many invincibility frames you have, I could do that and it was over in a second.
Unless you're willing to shell out money for a real copy and console, which you shouldn't because it's not that interesting a game, you're not going to be playing this game, ever.
True.
This game is interesting because it's the only Sonic game that I know of that Sega literally legally cannot refer to. They cannot acknowledge that it exists.
Wait, really?
Does SNK own the rights to it?
I don't know how much of the rights SNK owns it. Obviously, it must be some amount because they cannot talk about it. Even with games that have some rights issues like Chronicles, they still were able to put that in the Sonic Game Encyclopedia that came out a year ago. And people speculate, oh, the advanced games were distributed by THQ in the US, that's why they never re-released them here. I don't know if that's true, but I know that it's not like this because they acknowledge the advanced games all the time.
Yeah.
So this one's the odd man out. It will never be acknowledged as far as I know. I think it's like the Sonic 3 music where they just have to dummy it out of existence.
I mean, I guess it's not that big of a loss, because...
If it had to be something.
I'm not disappointed that Sega can't do anything with it ever again.
Well, just everything you can get from this game you can get from another Sonic game.
Exactly.
Including, but not limited to, Aerobase, which is Wing Fortress.
Oh god, not this zone. Please, not this zone. At least does Death Egg Zone music, which is pretty rad.
I find this easier in some ways and harder in others than the original.
I think it was the only part of Sonic 2 I didn't like.
Well, in this case, you have way more, like, teeny tiny moving platforms, which was what got to me. In the original, you had, like, the pop-up gun platforms and maybe one moving platform, or two. And there's way more of the thrusters that you can get hit by, which I think you just straight up didn't get hit by in the original.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, when I first played Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I was like, oh, I gotta avoid the fire. And then later I realized, yeah, you can actually just jump right through them. They don't even hurt you. And in this game, I was like, oh, I know how this works. And then, boom, sucker punched. This game was like, not today. The one time I shall vary things is for your pain.
Yeah,
there are also way more like flipping, spinning propeller platforms, I feel like, that I cannot time for the life of me. I had to spam save states because of how many times I would try to jump onto the next one only to fall like a second before I jumped. I'm not a fan of the timing platform puzzle trope.
Yeah, it's worse than, like, Mega Man Yoku blocks. They're really, really strict. I'd say if this has any advantage over the original, I don't know if, it's like I can't directly compare the level designs, but I can compare the bosses, because this was the thing that I remember Bruce hating the most about Wing Fortress. He hated the platforming, but he hated the jump up to hit the laser with the spinning spike platforms boss.
Oh, yeah.
And in this game, they just put a Mecha Sonic fight here, and you get rings for it, so it's not that bad.
It's funny you mention that, because it's not like I had any easier time with Mecha Sonic, but the rings make it so much easier.
When I'm used to fighting this boss with no rings, it's like, oh, well, this will be trivial.
To be fair, I think when I fought Mecha Sonic, Devin gave me a mod that put rings right before him, so...
You did it plenty of times without rings. It was that you couldn't beat the second boss.
Oh yeah, that was the problem.
Which is fair, because it's a giant waste of time that they did to, have an arbitrary difficulty wall. And they really should change that when Origins Plus comes out. I hope, but probably not.
They won't, but you can hope they will.
So yeah, wholly unoriginal boss, but at least you get rings, so they fixed it, which is something they haven't done in official re-releases. I
Mm.
didn't know that. But they did add a pretty rad cutscene where Mecha Sonic just leaves and bursts through the wall.
He was like, screw this, I'm gonna go live on an island. But yes, the next zone, the final normal zone, is Gigantic Angel, which I don't know what the hell that title is.
Well, see, at first I was like, what the heck does this have to do with angels? But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's Angel Island. And then later there's like Cosmic Angel and Chaos Angel. So no, the designers just like the word angel. So I'll give a pass on this title. This ain't a relix, but it still is a little strange, I suppose.
And strangest in all of that is that this stage is clearly Metropolis Zone because it's a giant pain in the dick, but visually it's Scrap Brain Zone.
Yeah, and I was very disappointed that we didn't get 8-bit Scrap Brain. Either like Scrap Brain from Sonic 1 8-bit or just an 8-bit rendition of the Genesis Scrap Brain. I would have liked either, but no, we just get like Desert Palace from multiplayer. Yeah, that fits. That fits definitely, definitely.
Very, very weird choice.
I always was a fan of Chrome Gadget though, so I guess the Act 2 music is a little more forgivable. It is just Metropolis Zone though, but with a Scrap Brain coat of paint, which is very puzzling. I don't know why they decided to do that. Honestly, I might have. Yeah, no. I'd give this game more credit if they did that for more zones, because that's like, fan ROM hack material, which I would like. I like ROM hacks where you just reskin zones to look like something else, because that can make it feel different. But for some reason they did it once. I don't know why.
I
It's
feel
really
like
strange.
the level design is the least like the original in this stage. I couldn't point out anything that felt exactly like Metropolis. And I'll say this, it doesn't have that stupid vertical shaft with the screws, so it is better in that way.
I can confirm that it's not as bad. I only got sniped by an Astron at one part in the stage. They were very lenient with those.
It is kind of labyrinthing. I feel like I got lost a couple times trying to play it. But maybe that was just me. I was definitely searching for rings for a lot of that because my dumbass was trying to do special stages, so.
I can't believe this is the one game. You're like, no, I'm gonna special stage it up, really.
I thought something interesting might happen. Anyway,
Anyhow, let's like, how we get to the interesting part.
the boss? That sucks?
The boss is bad.
Yes, the boss is
But
bad.
there's lore implications here. As I mentioned before, you go over and Eggman is like, "Hello, Sonic Hedgehog. I have a new outfit. What do you think?" And Sonic is like, "I don't care about your outfit. I'm gonna kill you."
Sonic, check my drip!
But this is where I'm like, "Oh." So after Sonic 3D Blast, Eggman was like, "That was a nice vacation on that one island, but I've decided to go back to my roots and just reuse my plan from a while back and rebuild the Wing Fortress." You know what? If Eggman has multiple egg carriers, he probably has multiple Wing Fortresses. He probably has a whole fleet. Every Eggman airship is probably produced in mass, and he
Of
always has
course.
spares. That makes sense. So he pulled out a spare Wing Fortress. He's like, "I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna steal a Chaos Emerald when Knuckles is being stupid, and then I'll have a great outfit." Actually, you know what? Probably after the Wing Fortress failed, that Eggman was like, "I need to redesign my air fortresses." Just like he redesigned his wardrobe. That's it. That makes sense. And so that goes into Sonic Adventures. Maybe this is. I'm trying. How deep does this rabbit hole go? I better get out before this gets too illogical.
He should have redesigned his boss machine to be less of a pain in my ass. This boss
That's
is
fucking
really, really
true.
horrible. You have to. So,
Yeah.
it shoots like 8-way pattern bullets every like 7 seconds or something, and it drops these big like bombs that have really small explosions, but you have to jump off of them. But also, it occasionally dips down so that you can hit it without doing that, but it will still fire from the position that it's at, which can make it really annoying to dodge. It's one of the... It feels like a boss generated by random number generators.
I noticed you could stand on the explosions, but I never was able to stand on explosion except when I had invincibility frames. So it's like that's got to be a mistake. And so I did not use it to try and hit the boss. But yeah, I don't know the timing for when it dips down.
It's really tight. And yeah, this one I just don't like it.
No, I
I mean,
don't
that's fair
either.
enough. I mean, I think the bosses overall are kind of the weak point of this game.
As with most
Uh,
Sonic games.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess they're a weak point, but they're the only point worth noting, really, because everything
I
else
mean,
is just go play Sonic 2.
I
if
mean,
you're
yeah,
if you're stealing good level designs, then there can still be fun to be had there.
sure.
Sure, but like it doesn't
No,
add.
I get what you're saying.
It's like okay, guys, we're totally skipping out on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 when it was re-released, and like when we covered the game jam, we didn't talk about Sonic 2 again, and we should have. And then later when they have like the Sonic Mega Collection and it's Sonic, when we get to Sonic Origins, we have to talk about Sonic 2 again. Like, yeah, we don't just. It's just Sonic 2. You don't need to talk about it again. It's already been done. Like, yeah, it was great. It was Sonic 2. Like, man, full stars for just re-releasing the same game.
Okay,
Good
okay.
job.
I mean, it could be kind of a microcosm of what Sonic is to introduce people to the series, or to be a Sonic game that you can play on the go that's not one of the Game Gear games, because you didn't have options for that back in the day. It's what this game is obsolete, is what it is.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't think about it in that context. I suppose, yeah, if you didn't have a mobile option, that makes sense. Okay, I'll give it that. Yes, obsolete. I suppose that's true then. So, last Utopia zone.
Yes, what a weird name for a level. What are the other Utopias?
I guess probably the Wing Fortress flew up into space, and then you're just on top of it now. That makes
Yeah, I mean
sense.
that is how you get to Death Egg, so it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Well, I was just trying to figure out what is the last Utopia, and it's
It's the first of many nebulous space platforms that are not as impressive as the Death Egg, but Eggman makes a lot of them in the Dimps games.
that's true. That is true.
Mm.
Anyway, this boss is easier than a lot of the other bosses for the most part. It kind of just charges at you and you hit it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I was like, oh man, Sonic 3 final boss music. I'm getting pumped suddenly. And then the boss is just like, I will hit you, and I will spin around, and I will grab you and shake the life out of you. That's actually hilarious. They're going to reuse that attack in their next game.
Yeah. There is the added stipulation that if you are going for all emeralds like I was, you have to actually knock the last Chaos Emerald out of the mech before you kill the boss, or else you won't get the true ending.
Oh,
Didn't even know you could do that. Wow.
yeah. That's interesting.
It's not particularly hard, it's just sort of a do that,
Oh
but
no, it's very easy.
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so you do that, then Doomsday Zone happens. It's just Doomsday Zone. I don't have anything interesting to say about it.
Wait, you
And
skipped Ultimate Comedy, which is if you don't have all the Chaos Emeralds, then Eggman flies off to the side of the screen and he just stops and he looks back at Sonic. And he's like, look, Sonic, I know you said you would kill me earlier, even though I had a new outfit, but please reconsider. Maybe we can put our differences aside. Here, I will stop and sort of as a show of trust, just wait here and see if truly we can be friends. And you have two choices here. You can decide, no, bloodshed is not the way of the hedgehog, and you can jump down and back to the planet. Or you can say, there is only one way to end this, and you can jump into Eggman completely defenseless, ending him perhaps forever. Of course, there were more games, but at the time, it could have been his final end. You never know.
see, what's amazing about this is that I didn't know that you had a choice at all. I just chased after him and jumped, and I hit him on the way down, and it didn't even feel like I did anything, like there was anything there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you jump down, you just lose a life, so I guess that's the non-canon ending. They didn't want peace. Sega's like, no, you must be violent. But you
Your
can
choices are murder or
still-
suicide. Do it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play Doomsday Zone, so I can't comment on that.
Neither did
It's
I.
nothing special. I will say, I did look at the color illustrations that we were talking about, and Sonic has blue arms in one of them, so you know it's a good game.
You know what? I take everything back. This is a masterpiece. And I should have known, because with an absolutely killer final line, thanks for your playing. Man, what a game.
Expert translation. Yeah, so that's Sonic Pocket Adventure. It is not necessarily a terrible game, but it existed to fill a niche that no longer exists, so it's very skippable.
It is definitely skippable, but I'd say, I don't know, if you enjoy Sonic 2 and you want more of Sonic 2 and you don't want to play Sonic 2, there's no reason not to play it.
I mean, yeah, you just want to play Sonic 2.
But you don't want to play Sonic
But
2.
you don't want to play Sonic. That's quite a niche, you know. That
It's
doesn't.
extremely niche. I mean, if I was going through the entire Sonic series without a podcast, I probably would have skipped this.
It's
But
harmless.
I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I did enjoy it. I probably only enjoyed it because I very much like Sonic 2.
It's a novelty, you know. You have some 8-bit sprites, some 8-bit Sonic 3 music, and that's it. You know, maybe if you had to spend, you know, however much money this was, like $40 or $50, I don't even know how much Neo Geo Pocket Color games cost. Maybe it was $70. I don't know. Then you'd feel ripped off because
100%.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you were already a Sonic fan. If you can't play Sonic 2 and only own a Neo Geo Pocket Color, then this is a great game.
If you only own a Neo Geo Pocket Color as your only video game console, I would like to meet you and personally give you my Switch.
Yeah.
Ah, so generous.
Deserves it.
Because at that point, I don't deserve a Switch. You deserve the Switch.
But yes, that sums it up. This is a great Sonic game if you have no other Sonic game.
I think that when you say it's a great Sonic game if you have no other Sonic games to play, that's not nothing, because there are plenty of Sonic games where if you had no other Sonic games to play, they would still be terrible.
Okay, I was actually talking about the, you know, mainline platformers.
I'd say there's
I know
plenty
some of those
as
are still
well.
shaky, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
This game would be a great game if Sonic 2 didn't exist.
What world where Sonic 2 didn't exist? And then
But this does.
This does.
Well, again, like I said, mostly harmless.
It disappointed me, which isn't direct harming, I suppose.
If you guys want to be not disappointed, but maybe harmed, then next time on Deep Dive Zone, we are diving back into real Sonic games for adults who are alpha chads with Sonic Adventure 2, which is going to be the big game where stuff happens.
It's the thick game.
Thank you all so much for watching. I know this is probably a short one. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe we waffled around and I didn't cut it out for some reason. But if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or criticism, you can reach us at any of the resources shown on screen. But with all that said, we hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a great night, and take care.